Welcome to Mrs. Bisson's virtual classroom. So our video today is actually going to be a review of all of the things that we've learned this week in preparation for our test. So we've learned how to find interest, we've learned how to find the percent change and the percent error. You will need your sharpened pencil with an eraser, a calculator, your guided notes sheet, and of course you'll follow along and fill in the spaces as prompted in the video. And of course your headphones. If you're missing any of these, please pause the video, retrieve them, and resume the video when you get back. So let's review. The interest we found was the money paid regularly at a particular rate for the use of money lent or for delaying the repayment of a debt. So this is something that you would find, for example, in a loan, a student loan or any kind of loan that you have. And percent change is the percent of that a value has increased or decreased from the original amount. Percent error is the measure of how inaccurate or incorrect a measurement is compared to how large the measurement is. So essentially percent error is how close you are to the right answer. Okay, so finding interest. We found interest by taking using the formula, I equals PRT, where I was the simple interest, P was the principal, R was the rate, and T was the time. So the I is the interest money created in dollars. So that tells you that your answer will always be in dollars. The principal is the starting amount or beginning amount of money. The rate is the interest rate that will be given to you in a percentage, and this needs to be in decimal form, so we will convert that just like we did when we first learned about this. We'll make sure that our percentages are in decimal form when we're using this I equals PRT formula. And finally, T is the time that the money is invested or borrowed, and this must be in years. So remember, if you have something in months, just put it over 12 and you will be able to get the correct calculation. Okay, so here is an interest practice problem that we can work through. And we're going to begin by using our cube strategy and circling our numbers. The numbers are $418, 9%, and 5 years. Now remember, you may have a number written as a word, the word 5, rather than the number 5, and you would still circle that because that is still a relevant number to solving our formula here. And the question, of course, is how much interest. So you would know, even if I didn't tell you that this was an interest problem, you would be able to look at this and see that this was in fact an interest problem. Okay, and the word that I feel is important is investment, because this tells us that $418 is our original amount, or the beginning amount of money that we started with. So we will write down our formula. I equals PRT, and I, of course, is our variable, our unknown variable. We don't know it yet, but we will. So we're going to just bring that I right back down. Okay, and P, that's our principal, that's our beginning investment, the amount of money that we began with, 418. The rate is going to be our percentage. Now remember, right now it looks like a 9 and there's that invisible decimal point that's always there. We move it over to the left twice. Every single time you do that, there's not a number there, so you add a 0. So it's going to be 418 multiplied by 0.09. And we're using our little dots for multiplication because we are 7th grade mathematicians, and of course putting an X there would really mess us up because we would think that that was an unknown variable. And finally the time, it's already in years, and we actually should have cubed that probably, so let's go ahead and do that. So that's in years already. We know that there's no conversion necessary there, so we're going to multiply that by 5. Go ahead and pause the video and solve it and come back and see what you get. Okay, so you should have got that the interest was, and don't forget your dollar sign because that's important, that's actually our unit. So you will need to make sure that your dollar sign is reflected in your answer when you take the test. So this means that on a $418 investment that earns 9% over 5 years, so at the end of 5 years, the interest will be $188.10. Awesome job. Okay, so let's talk about finding the percent of change. So we know that we were able to use a proportion to solve this, which we love because we've had so much experience practicing with proportions, and it's set up exactly the same way. So we have on the upper left-hand side, we have our percent of change. Just like always, the percent goes there. Now, this is interesting because we'll always be finding the percent of change in these percent change problems. So your variable will always go there. And then on the bottom of the left-hand side, you have your 100, just like always. And on the upper right-hand side here, you have the amount of change and the original amount on the bottom. The amount of change can be found by subtracting the new amount from the old original amount. So let's do a problem here. So if the price of a sweatshirt decreased from $30 to $26, what was the percent of decrease? So we know we're working with a decrease problem here. Let's circle our numbers. We're using our cube strategy. Okay, that's fine. Let's see what other words are important. Decrease, that's important. Okay, and they are asking us, of course, what the percent of decrease is. So we're going to set up our proportion. We're going to go ahead and write a percentage sign there, just so we know that that goes there. Of course, the 100 goes here. We have an equal sign. It's still a type of equation. And we know that 30 minus 26, because I took the original amount here and I'm subtracting the new amount. And I'm going to put this over the original amount. So the percentage will be your variable, your unknown variable at this point. And 30 minus 26 is 4. And then 30 remains on the bottom. I just brought this right down. The only thing that I'm doing different than the proportions that we've done before is actually subtracting these numbers here. So that's the step that you have to take. Go ahead and solve this, come back and check your answer. All right, so you should have used the butterfly strategy to cross multiply here, just like we've done before. And you should have the answer of x equals 13.33%, because we are going to round to the nearest hundredths like we always do, and it was a repeating 3. So you have that the price of the sweatshirt decreased by 13.33%. So finding the percent of error. You set up a proportion just like we did before, and you're taking the larger number and subtracting the smaller number. And on the bottom right, you have the exact value. And the exact value is the original, or not the original value, but the value that is the actual value, what actually happened. And the purpose of doing this is you're finding how closely related the two answers are, and how what the percent of error, or how close the person was to their estimate. So let's look. Xavier estimated the cost of a baseball to be $1.50, but found it priced at $2.50 when he went to the store. What was the percentage of error? Let's use our cube strategy again, of course. So $1.50 and $2.50. You know that they are asking us what was the percentage of error. Okay, another word that you could use, let's say you were trying to figure out what kind of a question this was. He estimated. So you can tell that he was kind of guessing. Maybe it was an educated guess based on, you know, previous purchases or something, but he did make an estimate, and he thought that the baseball was going to be $1.50, but it proved to be more expensive than he expected it to be. Okay, so you have your percentage over 100, and then the larger number and the smaller number. So you're taking the smaller number from the larger number, and then the actual amount, which turned out to be $2.50. Okay. And so the percentage is, of course, going to be our variable. $2.50 is the larger number, and $1.50 is the smaller number. So go ahead and pause the video and come back and check your answer and see what you got. So you should have x equals 40%. So here you should have got $1, because $1.50 subtracted from this original $2.50 there. That is $1, and you know that you're going to use your butterfly strategy to cross multiply these. If you need help, if you did not get these answers on the practice questions, please raise your hand, and myself or Mr. Wallace will come and help you. Now it is time to get on to some practice problems. Good job, guys.